Hey there. I just wanted to let you know that next week I will be offering a free live VBAC prep workshop called Three Steps to Have an Empowered VBAC, even without a supportive provider. The two sessions will be on Wednesday, October 9th at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The second session is Tuesday, October 15th at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You don't have to attend both. You can attend either one, or you can attend both if you'd like. Again, this will be live. Some of the things I'll be covering in the workshop are how to shift from fear and doubt to confidence and empowerment when it comes to your VBAC, the power of effective communication and boundary setting, and how you can still have a strong support system even without a supportive provider. This workshop is perfect for anyone, whether you're trying to conceive or currently pregnant and preparing for a VBAC. Again, the two dates currently being offered are Wednesday, October 9th at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and Tuesday, October 15th at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you want to find out more and register for one of the workshop dates, please go to thehannahgill.com/workshop. Hey everyone, I am very excited for today's guest. Her name is Mariela. She is a former special education teacher, and she has seamlessly transitioned into her role as a podcast host and creator of the new Mom Talk podcast. As the founder of Carlsbad Mom Walks, her passion lies in providing resources and education to new and expecting mothers. Through her platforms, Mariela aims to build community and connect mothers with experts knowledgeable in various perinatal topics. With a desire to empower and support women on their motherhood journey, Mariela's dedication shines through in everything she does. I'm Hannah Gill, and this is Motherhood Flow. Hey, Mariela, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
So if you could just start off by telling me kind of who you are, where you're from, and how you got started with your podcast.
Yeah, so like you said, my name is Mariela De Santiago. I live in San Diego. I have a parenting podcast designed to be a resource for parents in the perinatal period and beyond. Just trying to cover all of the questions that we Google as new parents when we should be sleeping. So I'm
Yeah.
trying to create a space for that. I also have a mom group called Carlsbad Mom Walks. So if you're in the San Diego, South Orange County area, definitely look it up. And now since having my son, I hate this term, but I'm a stay-at-home mom, even though I'm never home. And then I run my little business on the side.
Okay. And what motivated you to get started doing all of that, like doing the mom walks and doing your podcast and just venturing into that space?
So initially, I thought that I would probably want to return to work and work part-time. My background is special ed, so I was a special ed teacher. But after having my son, I decided I didn't want to go back to work. I wanted to be able to stay with him and raise him and do all of the things before I knew that any of these experiences that I get to have with him on a daily basis would no longer be available because he would be in school.
Mhm.
So,
And I feel like a lot of moms are in that space where they think they're going to go back to work. I was the same way after my first. I thought, oh, well, of course, I'm just going to go back to work and do what I'd planned to do. But then afterwards, everything changes. Like your mindset changes, your goals change, your values change, and everything's just different.
yeah. And I think it's different. Yeah. For everyone, it's different, right? Some people want to go back to work. I was just not one of them. Uh, and so I came up with the idea with this podcast after having my son when I would go for walks and I was trying to find an episode that was short and that was going to give me answers to all of the topics I was Googling while he was napping. I
Hmm.
was sleep deprived. I should have been napping. I shouldn't have been Googling what is baby led weaning, but here I was Googling it and then getting overwhelming results.
Yeah.
So I decided that I just had this vision of this podcast. I'm like, I want short and sweet episodes. So
Hmm.
20 minutes long, that they're digestible. They give me the answers, the good, the bad, the ugly, the pretty, everything. And then I can walk away with more knowledge and make my decision.
I
rather
think that,
than,
yeah, I think that's really good because we all have gone down that Google rabbit hole. And sometimes it just helps to, like you said, hear it in like a short, digestible way versus like scrolling through Google for hours and hours and hours and hearing it from someone that's going through what we're going through. So someone that's more relatable and actually going through the process versus like a Google article.
yeah. And then you have to try to determine how credible is the person writing it. So I kind of take that away by actually bringing somebody that's an expert in that space that can give
Right.
us not just their opinion, but the evidence behind it.
hmm And how do you feel like deciding to be a stay-at-home mom has changed you, like maybe changed your personality or outlook or how you parent, how you do this work? Do you feel like you've changed a lot since becoming a stay-at-home mom?
Oh my goodness, have I? Yes. I I envisioned I was going to be, like I said, going to work. It was going to be easy for me to come and, be home with my son part-time, work part-time. I thought I wanted a little bit of both, and I do. I just didn't want my work to determine when I work. And so that's why I decided
hmm
to stay home and create my business. And that way, it's not only beneficial for me and my son, but it's beneficial for the moms that also need a space like this that also provides the resources and the community, like my group, my Carlsbad Mom Walks group. And it really kind of allows me to make the decisions.
hmm
But being a stay-at-home mom has totally changed me. Oh gosh, I have to like determine what's important for that day. Being present, being
hmm
able to know like, okay, mornings are when we do certain activities, and that's when
hmm
I don't schedule calls because we're out, we're doing something fun.
And you have that flexibility to, like you said, make your own schedule and you determine that schedule around your needs and your son's needs versus the needs of your company or whoever you're working for, which can be very beneficial. But is there anything you miss about working in that environment and versus being a stay-at-home mom and having your own business?
Uninterrupted time.
Yeah.
I think having been a teacher, like I do miss knowing like, okay, this during this one period, I have my planning or my prep period. So I have a list of things that I know I can do or get done without interruption.
hmm
Um, I don't have that. Nap time is kind of my time to squeeze in as much as I can, but at the same time, I have to pick and choose what I can do. I don't know how long nap is going to be. Might be an hour and a half, might be 3 hours,
Right.
before. I don't know. And it's a lot of really like having to be super mindful of prioritizing, determining what I need to get done, what's most important, and how can I squeeze in my self-care routine. So for me, it's that workout. And as soon as he's down for nap, I go down and I work out. And that's kind of like the one boundary I have of like, oh, I guess lunch is not going to be picked up until dinner time because I got to squeeze in a workout. It's just really not a compromise for me.
Yeah, and I think, do you feel like that has been one thing you've learned is really being able to set those boundaries? Because I recently started January of this year, I work from home now versus going into the office. So I work from home 3 days a week. So I feel like I have more flexibility, but I also have to set boundaries so I know what happens when, because otherwise I would either work way too much or not work enough.
Yeah, you definitely have to set boundaries. I feel like I've become really good at setting those. There's definitely some days where I'm like, you know what? I feel like I've worked really hard. Today's I'm just gonna watch some TV type of day or hang out in the patio, whatever it is. But yeah, I feel like you have to be so good at determining what's important, how to prioritize what you say yes to, what you say no to,
hmm
and being able to like set those very
Yeah.
clear lines.
Yeah. And do you feel like there's anything since becoming a stay-at-home mom that since you've had more time and flexibility, have you found like new interests or new passions that you wouldn't have realized you were interested in while you were still working full time?
I don't know that I have. I think it's so hard to squeeze in time for myself, which is why I commit to doing the workouts. Other than
Hmm.
like my podcast, I definitely feel like I found this like passion and desire in wanting to help moms.
Yeah.
That whereas before it wasn't my world, it wasn't a part of what I did on a daily basis, other than, interacting with parents because of my students. But now I understand the struggles, I understand the challenges. So it's kind of like my goal to be able to provide just a space for moms to have a place to
Hmm.
create those friendships, find those resources, be able to learn that there's so much we don't know and that it's okay not to know it, but to also just prepare and think about like that postpartum stage, which I don't feel like we ever really talked about. We never really, at least when I was pregnant, it was not something that I like had thought about or prepared. Oh, I'm gonna be fine. And then all of a sudden the tears come and it was
Hmm.
like, whoa, did I just like hit a bus?
Yeah. I feel like there's so much emphasis and focus on the pregnancy and the birth, and postpartum is completely forgotten about as far as preparation goes, especially because no one understands or realizes what they can do to prepare for postpartum, like setting up support systems, making sure you have your home organized in a way that's going to be efficient for you and cause less stress, and making sure you have all the resources you need and what resources you could look into if you do start noticing signs or symptoms of problems, either physically or emotionally. And I feel like I would like to see more postpartum support and education being like the norm for everybody.
Yeah, you really don't get very much of it, right? Especially after having your baby, you go for like one or two visits and then that's it. Whereas
Hmm.
before, there's all this preparation. And I get it, right? There's a lot of complications that can happen when you're creating another little human that's literally living inside of you. But that postpartum place, it's so foreign until you are actually in it. And by then you're like so knee deep in with being sleep deprived, trying to keep
Hmm.
another human alive, trying to control your crying, and you can't find the resources. You also don't know what you need. So it's just having like a list of like potentials that
Hmm.
can help you. And I
Yeah.
think that's probably like what I said from my podcast, like that's kind of one of the big things that I love to be able to talk about is like create a postpartum registry, build that community and those resources so that when you're there, you can kind of know how to tackle it.
Right. Because it's hard if you don't plan ahead of time, then when you are in the thick of it and you're sleep deprived and you're not thinking straight, you might not realize that you need help or resources, or you might not be emotionally in the place to reach out and ask for help. So yeah, if you prioritize the preparation ahead of time, then it makes it a little bit easier during the actual process.
Yeah. And I think the other thing too is just also as you kind of go through that stage of like realizing that we're not just moms, like we also need to be able to give ourselves a little bit of care because
Hmm. If you don't care for yourself, I mean, how are you supposed to care for, like you said, care for anybody else? But like you said, you prioritize your workouts because that's part of your self-care. And if you don't do that, then you're not going to be in the physical and mental capacity to take care of anyone else.
yeah, you also have to have a little bit of your own life and give to yourself.
Right. Right. It's not your mom, being a mom is not your entire identity.
Introducing the new Mom Talk podcast, your ultimate guide to navigating the journey of motherhood with confidence and clarity. Hosted by me, Mariela De Santiago, this podcast provides evidence based answers to all those burning questions for expecting, new, and first time moms. From pregnancy to postpartum, breastfeeding to sleep training, we've got you covered with insightful discussions and practical advice. Tune in to the new Mom Talk podcast and embark on your motherhood journey with knowledge and empowerment.
And I know that you mentioned like the struggles of like things you missed from work in your previous role. Do you feel like there are any major challenges to being a stay-at-home mom? Because a lot of people still, even with like the social media that talks about it all the time, a lot of people still think being a stay-at-home mom is just like this chill vacation and you just get to do whatever you want and there's no challenges or no issues or concerns. Do you feel like as a stay-at-home mom slash online business mom, are there any like major challenges that you face on a regular basis?
I wish I was a stay-at-home mom before I had kids because then it would have been a vacation. But yes, there's so many challenges. I think the timing, the time management, it's a struggle. So it's really a balance of like determining where can you fit in the time, the uninterrupted time that you need in order to complete the tasks that you can complete. So like for me, that's waking up early, hopefully before my son does. However, I swear he must have a camera in our room or something because he's like, "Oh, mom's up. It's time to get up."
Yes, mine too.
Like, no, it's only 5:30. Keep sleeping, buddy. So there's that part, in the evenings also. Sometimes just leaving all of my emails need to wait until the evening time when I can actually focus and answer them correctly and properly. There's also like the nap time is kind of where I determine and prioritize what needs to get done, what can I accomplish. And then the other times are I'm very fortunate that I have some help. My husband works from home, however, he's always working, but I do get my father-in-law and sometimes my mother-in-law that will come and help me out. And if I didn't have that, I don't know how I would do it. So I'm very,
Yeah,
very, very grateful that I do have that. But I think for me, the challenge with that is that I hate missing out on these activities with my son, even if it's just him at the park or at the library. And I know that probably sounds so crazy to some people, but like, I just love being with him.
yeah.
And
And do you feel guilty sometimes because so I work from home on the days I work from home for like my regular job, the kids are not home, but on Tuesdays and Thursdays I'm just home with the kids. But I find myself, even when I'm doing an activity with the kids, like my mind is like going to like my online business and my podcast and things I gotta be doing. And I'm distracted when I'm supposed to be present there with my kids. So I feel a lot of guilt around that. And I'm just trying to be better about just being completely present with them. But do you ever feel like it's difficult? Like even when you're home with your son to not have the distraction of like the podcast or your business or anything like that.
oh, for sure. For sure. It's your mind. I think when you're a business owner, your mind is constantly going and thinking about what you need to accomplish and check off your list. And that's probably the same with when it comes to working for somebody else.
Yeah,
But I think it was much easier to shut off when it was like, okay, you know what? I'm at home now and I'm not going to do work and my work can wait versus if I don't do all of these tasks, I don't have anyone else that can do them. Your mind
right.
is just going through all of the things that you need to accomplish as a solo entrepreneur that's literally running everything, right?
Yeah,
So I think what has been helpful for me is really determining the times throughout the day that are best for me to commit to that undivided attention.
yeah,
So that can be an activity in the mornings. We always do something that can be like the library or the park or going to a museum, going to the safari park, whatever it is. And then we do dinners uninterrupted as a family where we don't even have our phones with us and the bedtime routine.
yeah.
But the other times, yeah, even when I'm out with him, my mind is definitely going through, oh, I need to post that. Oh, I need to schedule this.
Right.
Oh, I need to.
And then you just feel like you can't ever be fully present because even when you're working, if your kids aren't there, then you're thinking about your kids while you're working. So it's like a never-ending cycle.
I know,
Yeah,
I know. And I think it's being a mom or a stay-at-home mom, which I just really hate that term. I feel like we still have this desire of you want to do something more than, in quotes, just be a stay-at-home mom.
right.
Like, you want to feel like you're still meeting your goals and your needs and accomplishing something, but also I think for me on a personal level, I want to be able to continue to learn because if and when I do go back into the workforce, hopefully my business does really well and I don't need to worry about that. But you can keep up with the changes in a setting from the new softwares that are out, the new type of platforms that you need to
Mhm.
use. That's a lot to learn if
Right.
you are out of it for 5 years.
And do you feel like what would some of your biggest pieces of advice be to any moms that are transitioning out of the traditional workforce, either to be home with their kids or to create an online business or something like that while being at home? What would your advice be to them for that transition period and how to make it a more, I guess, streamlined and like not so stressful of a transition?
Uh, I think what worked for me was not overwhelming myself by trying not to be on every single platform. So don't worry about being on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube and Twitter or X or TikTok. Pick one to focus on and then just start adding each month. So the way that I did it was I set little goals. So I said, okay, starting in the month of January, I'm going to start doing audiograms for my podcasts. And then it was, okay, starting in the month of February, I'm going to start doing like a post that gives a little bit more of an info, teaser detail of that podcast. So just kind of adding little things each month so that I can be successful with each one rather than piling everything on and let your business grow slowly. Don't worry about
Mhm.
doing everything. Just kind of manage it so that you can grow with it.
I love that piece of advice because I just went through a very big burnout phase the beginning of the year. And it was a year and a half that I was working my full-time job, trying to do my business. I was freshly postpartum and I was trying to do everything at one time, going from 0 to 100. And I burnt out and I was like, you know what? I'm taking a break from my business completely. I stopped taking in-person clients. So I love the advice of just letting it grow slowly at the pace it needs to grow to be sustainable versus like diving headfirst all in and just burning yourself out.
Yeah, and I think I don't know, maybe you don't have this, but for me, I have like a hard time being able to determine what can I outsource and don't necessarily need to have my hands in, and what do I absolutely need to be a part of.
Yeah.
So I feel like I'm in that challenge right now of like, where can I let go?
Yeah. My, I wouldn't say I have an issue with that specifically, but my issue is figuring out, okay, what are the necessities? Like what has to happen? What are the non-negotiables? And what's just like extra fluff that's nice to do, but isn't truly necessary and that you're wasting your time on or whatever. And for me, I know like there's specific things that, like you said, being on every platform. I'm like, okay, it's not necessary for me to be on every platform. It's not necessary for me to change my podcast into a blog, into a YouTube video, into Pinterest things. I don't have to do it all. I just need to do the bare minimum starting out, and then slowly you can grow from there once you have like a good routine down with the bare minimum.
Yeah, and once you know each platform, right? Because they're always changing. So if you can also just use the tools that are out there by watching the videos and really listening to how you can learn like all of the different changes with Instagram, right? So really
Yeah.
using what is accessible to you rather than like overwhelming yourself and trying to figure it out on your own.
Yeah. And what would you say is a good way to like still have those like adult connections and build a community as a mom that's home with their children? Because I've heard a lot of stay-at-home moms, my friends that are stay-at-home moms feel like they're never around adults. They never have adult conversations. They're just always with their children. So how do you feel like these moms can build a community and still have that sense of friendship and identity with people besides just their children?
Definitely joining local mom groups. I run a mom group called Carlsbad Mom Walks. It's a great way to bring moms together because sometimes you might be the first one out of your friend group that's having a kid, and now that has totally changed you and the space that you're going to be in, right? They don't want to go to first birthday parties and you can't go out to dinner anymore because bedtime's at 6:30 or 7. So being able to go to those connecting with other moms through there. There's also, what do you call those? Like I call it the dating sites for moms where
Yes,
you
like
just,
the friendship apps or like
yeah.
yeah, I've heard of those too. Like isn't like Peanut one and
Yeah.
then there's other ones. It's yeah, I know what you're saying, like friendship dating apps.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
there's even like mom groups on Facebook. So just being able to even just share a post, let's say there aren't any mom groups in your community. If there is a mom Facebook group in your
Mhm.
community, you can simply post on there and say, "Hey guys, I wanted to have a play date meetup.
Yeah.
Let's anyone that wants to join, here's where we'll be, here are the times, bring whatever you need to be comfortable." People will show up because a lot of moms are in that place.
And
And
they're
then in
trying to make those friendships and connections too. And the, I feel like a lot of moms especially feel like they're the only ones, like they're the awkward ones, like I don't have a social life. But I feel like many moms are in the exact same position, but they're just too scared or like worried to reach out to people about it.
Yeah. And if anyone isn't sure about how to start a group, reach out to me. I'm happy to help
Yeah.
out. Why not? Like you meet so many people and you have so many great connections. And then the other thing that I do is whenever we are out on walks, my son's in his stroller, I throw my headphones in and I make phone calls. It's like my time to catch up with my girlfriends and
Hmm.
my sisters. And it's what am I going to do? I mean, yes, obviously I can enjoy the beautiful scenery, but my son is occupied in his stroller facing forward. I can do something else.
Right. Right. So if someone wants to like connect with you online or listen to your podcast or get involved maybe with your mom walks group, where can people find you online and in person?
So my website is a great place to start. On there, you can find my Instagram and my podcast. Podcast is anywhere that you listen to your podcasts. You can also find my mom group, Carlsbad Mom Walks, on Instagram. And you can DM me, you can email me, and I'm pretty good about responding. Not right away, because I try to leave the messages until I have uninterrupted time. Mom brain, once you open something, if you don't respond, you forget it.
Yes, till weeks later.
Yeah, I don't think I ever responded. Yes. So that's been a learned skill.
Yeah, I do the same thing. Well, thank you so much for being here today. Is there anything else you want to cover or touch on before we go?
Thank you. Thank you so much. And if you are a new mom, expecting mom, having a baby second time, third time, be sure to follow me on my podcast. Share with a friend if you like it. Yeah, let people know. My goal is to help moms. So please reach out if you have any questions.
You just finished another episode of Motherhood Flow. For more, head over to thehannahgill.com or on Instagram @thehannahgill. As a reminder, this podcast is provided to you for educational and entertainment purposes only. It should not be considered a substitute for medical advice. Until next time, keep flowing.